sketchyGOichie.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of sketchyGOichie. I am your humble host, Roger Andrews, illustrator, graphic designer, storyboard artist. I would say extraordinaire, but that is mega pretentious, so I will not do so, although I just did. Anyways, I am doing a Mad Max Fury Road Furiosa piece inspired by my buddy Rob Logan of the Geek Generation Network. You can find on Twitch, you can find his stuff on him and all his partners on YouTube, you name it. These guys got media covered, podcasts aplenty. And in that group of podcasts is one called Random Movie Club, and he invited me to come on and discuss, one of my all-time favorite flicks, Mad Max Fury Road. And he also suggested I do a little piece, a little sketch, little color sketch of characters from that. And so I chose to do Furiosa. In my opinion, almost more iconic than Mad Max in the movie, which is pretty amazing. And so I did a little cartoon version, and that's what we have here. As you can see, I quickly went through the process of scratching out what would best be described as an underdrawing. You can kind of see it's been sort of, I've sort of lowered the opacity of it on one layer. Oh, at this point I should probably mention I am working in Procreate on my iPad using the Apple Pencil, and in order to get this character the way she is at this point, scratched out all that underdrawing on one layer, grade that line back, and then applied a new layer where I'm doing my inking. And I do my inking with the technical pen, and I've adjusted it quite a bit to kind of bend to my will, and you can do the same. There's a million videos on YouTube that can help you kind of navigate Procreate, and this is my humble contribution to that litany of videos. Anyway, so it's all about being creative. It's all about doing your own take on these characters, and with Rob's inspiration, I threw this together, and the hope was to kind of demonstrate, the simplicity of working in layers. It's super effective, and it's almost kind of the main reason to work digitally. I mean, that ability to edit multiple layers is tremendous. It's a tremendous asset, even in sort of my paying gigs. I always use multiple layers and then sort of condense them if need be, and you always have that option working in Procreate. So layer count on this is topmost layer. I don't know if you've seen it. You will see it soon. I sort of do this sort of smoke that happened from a crash, I would guess. And it's I put that on the top, and then of course the ink line layer, and then beneath that I will start very shortly sort of applying flats. There's the smoke I referenced. I chose to put it on top. I probably could have put it underneath, but I wanted to make sure it kind of obscured that area there where her mechanical arm is, and it kind of cuts down across her body. I thought it was kind of cool if it kind of obscured that line. You can kind of see a little better there with the rough sketch layer removed, which is underneath everything, by the way. So I just just chose to make that bottommost layer invisible, and then went up to sort of create a flat layer that is in between that sort of super loose sketchy layer, which we don't see anymore, and the line art. It's in between, which allows the line art to kind of to not be obscured or not be messed with at all, because it's literally underneath the line art, which in Procreate the line art is always transparent, which makes it great. And then I just kind of picked and chose different colors for my flat color fills, and I'm rendering them with just the studio pen. It's a little thicker pen, and that's what I'm rendering with. And I applied a clipping mask, which is a great little thing to do. So essentially layer count again, rough. Above that is the sort of filled in, what I'm doing right now, this process of kind of filling in the flats. And then above that I will add a clipping mask layer, and you'll see it very shortly when I want to start doing sort of the highlights and the shadowing. And that clipping mask allows whatever you render to stay within it. It's almost like it's like having a coloring book and you're forced to stay within the lines. So when you apply a shadow and everything, which I will be doing shortly, it will stay. It's almost like trapped. So it can't go beyond, so if I wanted to color within those goggles, you will see very shortly, it stays within the goggles. So I can kind of be really loose with the shadow. Right there, you kind of see it. See how there's the sort of the darker color, and there's that highlight there on the goggles as well. It stays within that without sort of blending into the orange background. I love that feature, that clipping mask feature. You can also do that with an alpha channel. You can also make a selection and then add a new layer and then do your rendering, your shadow rendering within that selection. But I like to use a clipping mask because I don't want to have those little sort of selection marching ants. It's distracting for me to color. I kept also notice on that sort of that render layer, that clipping mask layer, notice how the color, the shading is really very, very simple. Like, for example, on the belts, there, the ones that cut across her body and there on her mechanical arm, it's just a little highlight, those sort of little feathered highlight. That's all I'm doing. Even you can see it here on the mechanical part. Just I use that medium gray that's, to kind of be the darkest color, and then I just added sort of a tint of it to create the highlight. And then here's me kind of monkeying around with, I added a little rust, added a new layer with a little rust. And because I have that flat layer, I can just make a selection, add a new layer, and then just add that rust. Or just do it on a clipping mask, either way. So, and then, of course, that sort of smoke in the background, it's got its own layer, so it's very easy to add another clipping mask on top of that and apply that gradient and those little extra highlights. And in the background, I just added a little subtle, in the upper left-hand corner, a little subtle gradient, just with an airbrush tool. Very, very simple. Simple and clean. That's what I was going for this one. And then shortly I'll add that sort of outer outline. Now you can see me doing it now. That outer outline, that sort of yellowish, I'll apply a screen to it. That's on its own layer as well. And I just like to do that to kind of separate. See it? You can kind of brightened it up by, I think I applied a screen to it. But that's that. Really simple, minimal layers, in and out, hour and a half, all done. sketchyGOichie. Live your moment. Happy sketching, y'all. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to check out Rob, Geek Generation Network. And peace.